Welcome to another segment of Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Tyler Glessner, here with women's soccer coach, Coach Hoover. Coach Hoover, it's a pleasure to have you today, and I'm excited to have a conversation about your season so far.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So the first question I got to ask you is, obviously your team is off to a really running start right now, and I have to say it has to be probably because of the depth you have of your underclassmen, your freshmen, your sophomores. What's it like in the offseason to see a depth on your team just be so dynamic?
Yeah, coming into this year, we knew there was going to be a large turnover, not just in players and what they do on the field, but personalities. We graduated 9 players and we brought in 10, and then there were 2 players who came in as sophomores to make the team. So a lot of new personalities, but with that comes some opportunities for people to get on the field and fill some much needed minutes. And our depth is a huge part of what we're about. We do a lot of rotations. We do more substituting, more rotating than we've probably ever done. It keeps fresh legs on the field. It keeps everyone really competitive. No one can really get settled in any spot because they know there are players coming on right for them. So the minutes on the field really seem to be maximized right now, effort and energy and intensity-wise. And even when someone's just not having their game that day, you know there's another set of fresh legs who have a real impact when they're coming on the field, and that's been a huge part of the success that we've had so far this season. And yeah, especially when it's young players, they're here for the first time, putting in a lot of work in a short period of time to try and figure out what their role is, what their impact can be, and what their responsibilities are. And it's a lot of learning on the fly. It's crazy to think that everyone joined us on campus here August 18th, and here we are. We're 7 games in or 8 games into our season. It's kind of crazy, but it's been great.
On the flip side of that, it's got to be probably due to the credit that's leadership of the senior class that you have. A great group of girls. So what do you got to say about your senior class this year?
Yeah, our leadership has never been stronger, not just because of the experience they have playing and the success they've had playing. They're all really talented, hardworking, successful group, but I think they take on a certain amount of responsibility knowing it was going to be a lot of young people, and they're going to have to put a little bit more work in than maybe the average senior class to integrate everyone into the team and get them, sort of comfortable to a certain degree, but still challenging them. And that's always a bit of a tough needle to thread when you have, a bunch of new personalities. You want them to feel comfortable, but you want to challenge them. You want them to feel like they can compete, but you don't want to put too much on their plate. And the coaching staff obviously is responsible for that. But when you have good leadership, like we have, especially in our 3 captains and what they've been tasked with, they do a great job of just making sure that they really find ways to interact and connect with all of our young players. And our entire senior class, and honestly our junior class, has done a great job with that too. On top of just being great on the field too. It's one thing to be good leaders off the field, but you still need to produce on the field. And I feel like our team has leaned into the sort of experience of our juniors and seniors, and then our first years and our sophomores have really just kind of picked up on the energy, and it's been a good combination of that so far.
So looking at your schedule, you have a pretty brutal away stretch coming up. It's 5 straight games on the road. So how do you prepare your team to be able to get on a bus 5 straight games like that and take on some pretty tough opponents?
I have to convince them first that I didn't do it on purpose to do that. That was sort of just the way things go. But honestly, I'm not really worried about it. Like, I am, because it's tough. You always want to prepare. You always want to make sure your team is focused and ready, and playing on the road is always more difficult than playing at home. But I feel as though our group is prepared for this. They're ready for it. Like I said, our experienced group who have played in some of the tougher games, who have had some of the real successes and the real heartbreaks, they've been through it. There's nothing that's going to come their way they haven't seen. That being said, 5 straight games on the road coming up after this weekend is tough, and you got to find it, everything you can, just take it, it's very cliche, but one game at a time. We got our next opponent, our first conference game at home, so we're going to focus on that, and then the tough road stretch will come later. We gotta make sure we're just focused on, like, not even Saturday, but today's practice. That's the mindset I think we've done pretty well. We keep talking about this journey, this mission that we're on, and every day, every practice, every lift, every film session, every game is a step on that journey, and we just got to take it one step at a time.
And that's interesting. So the last question I was going to ask you is to talk about your first home landmark game this Saturday against E-Town. Obviously a tough loss last year in the playoffs. I imagine that game has been circled in red all over all the girls' calendars, your calendar. So what are you looking forward to in that game Saturday, and what do you have to go in with that mindset of maybe letting last year go?
Yeah, that's honestly step one, is not pretending this is last year. It's the hardest thing because of the heartbreak you spoke of, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about it every once in a while, and I know the team does too. And it's rough because of how it went, but it's good because you know how much it meant. You know, after that game, I've never seen a group feel it so much and be so hungry for the opportunity to get back into the next season. And while that date has been circled and that team has been circled, I think that date and that team would have been circled no matter who it is in conference. Conference is conference, and E-Town obviously, you know, has a unique memory for us, but it still has to be counted as just the next team on the schedule and a conference game. They're a very good team. They're very well coached. I think it's going to be a tough task, and I think we're prepared for it. But we gotta forget about last year because they're a different team and so are we, and we just gotta focus on, you know, maybe not the specifics of last year. The emotion of this game is going to be big, and how to temper that and go in and do what we've been doing, to the things that we've done successfully that we want to continue to do, and the things that we can do better and improve on. If you focus on it like that and not make this some other thing, I think that's going to be, you know, reap the best rewards for us potentially on Saturday.
And I'm excited to see that game Saturday. Coach Hoover, it's been a
much.
pleasure to talk to you today. Well, that'll be all for Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Tyler Glessner, and we'll see you in the next segment.